This is to let you know about RWAMREC. We have 6 main program. We have one program called Bandebereho. Bandebereho, in other words, in Kinyarwanda, it's like we say a role model. We have GWEP, we have Generation G, we have PIMA, we have all those programs are being implemented within RWAMREC just to challenge negative gender social norms in the community, but with different focus in order to engage different group of people in Rwanda to challenge or to promote positive masculinities. Next, just to manage our time. Yeah, it's good. Maybe before we go on with by explaining how GWEP works, it's good to just to let you know how is the current situation of our country in Rwanda. As most of you might know, we are very, very happy and we really appreciate that we have a high political will to promote gender equality. This is very important. We have the government that really shows high political will to promote gender equality and women empowerment. And we have a very conducive legal institutional framework. According to the Global Gender Index, Rwanda is rated to at the second country in Africa after Namibia, just to promote gender equality. However, though we are happy of this, we are still having some issues or gaps that we need to work on, and that is why even the civil society, including RWAMREC, we are trying to do our best to make sure we are doing our best to challenge or to solve those gaps that are persisting. The first one is that we are still having women being poorer, and their majority in unemployment, or you can say that they are much more in the informal sector. The access to formal finance sector is lower than men's and boys. When you look at SGBV, or sexual and gender-based violence, the percentage of domestic violence is still high, and the number of teenage pregnancies is still a concern in our country. And when you look at representation in decision-making bodies, yes, we are good in gender equality, but still Rwanda has the highest, though it has highest number of women parliamentarian, but those women are still few in the private sector and in the local government instances. Next. Next, please. Yeah, yes. We thought better to talk about our achievement, but before that, it's good to look back and see where we are coming from. When you look at the state of gender equality in 2010, you can see that 95% of women were taught to carry out household duties as children, versus just 49% of men. This was the case in 2010. When you look at in terms of decision making at household level, you'll see that 75% of women and 57% of men say that their husbands or themselves dominated the decision making in the families. And 40% of women were dissatisfied with their sexual relationship with their partners, compared to 14% of men. The same research showed that 73% of Rwandan men and 82% of women said that a woman's most important role is to take care of her family. And the same study showed that 17% of men regularly abused alcohol. This was the status when you look back, some more than 10 years back. Yes. And then from that situation, Care International in Rwanda has tried to set up some mechanisms to try addressing those issues that have been indicated. And as you can see, Care International in Rwanda has set up a program that was called Isaro, is a Kinyarwanda name that describes the beauty of the program, the sustainability of the program. And when you look at this, from that time, RWAMREC has conducted the image survey in Rwanda. And after that, because it has participated together with the Promundo, later on when ISAR was being implemented, later on RWAMREC has joined, and they implemented that program that is called ISAR in collaboration with some partners, including AEE, Rwanda Women's Network. Later on, we had other different partner organizations. And this ISAR program has been implemented in the southern province of Rwanda, and was at the starting time, it was mainly implemented by CARE, but later on, RWAMREC and other organizations have been included in that implementation. And when you see, of course, they started by the baseline, as you can see here. You can see that men were dominating the way women use the money from VSLA. We could see men hiding their own income from the assessment that was done. We could see that men's health was not very good because of alcohol and many other reasons. From that baseline, we could see that conflicts were mainly about money, alcohol, and sex. Men and women were open to become business partners. So this is what we could see from that ISARO that was being implemented, but from the baseline that was conducted from 2011. So from that period, we used the journey of transformation as a model. This is a manual that was used to engage men as allies in women's economic empowerment. And this model was developed by Equimundo with RWAMREC and CARE. And it was piloted in 2011 with 30 couples. And later in 2011 and 12, it was rolled out in all sectors of the 6 districts, where we managed to reach out 2,310 couples, as you can see. This manual was then adapted and scaled up in other districts. We can go on. So we can't talk about the achievement if you don't really share. It's good to share the lifeline of this program from the starting point up to now. This program, as I mentioned, it started from 2011. And at that time, it was called ISARO. And we introduced, of course, journey of transformation. And we were lucky to see Men Engage Club getting self-created or self-started, because those people who were part of the general transformation, from the achievements or the benefits that they got from that program, they decided just to reach out to their neighbors and family members to let them know what they are benefiting from the program, so that they may also join to learn from them or to share experiences. And when you look at from 2014 to 2015, it was at that time that we started to have fully involvement of the partners in this program. And it was like, I would say, it was the awareness time, just to make sure we are consolidating or strengthening men engaged clubs. We are raising awareness into community, and a number of activities were set up, were organized, just to make sure we are reaching a larger number of community members. When you look at GWEP 2 from 2016 up to 2020, we kept on working with the people we worked with. But maybe something I can add on this is that from the GWEP 1, based on the results that we found out from ISARO program, the very first step, we were really appreciating to see the results, and we tried to add more number of couples to be trained, and we added around 2,060 couples who were enrolled in this period, 2014 and 2015. Later in GWEP 2, so we had about another very interesting model, SASA model, and of course we are dealing with the issue of gender-based violence, and we know that power imbalance is known as to be the root cause of gender-based violence. So we thought of including this community activist model. So that's where we started to bring, or to include some learnings that we learned from SASA model, and we included them into GWEP program. And from then, we also started to work with opinion leaders and religious leaders to make sure there is they are supporting us environment enablers. Now, from 2020 until now, we are working with the third phase of GWEP, whereby from the learnings, we learned that it is important to make sure there is a sustainability of our interventions, that it is better also to engage young people. That's where we are working with youth. And as I mentioned, men engaged clubs, we are also having youth clubs, youth for change clubs that are there to mobilize boys and girls at understanding positive masculinities and femininities. And we also, in Rwanda, we are having some refugee camps, and the couples and the youth we are working with, they are coming from the communities whereby we have some refugee camps. So to make sure our program is comprehensive and is addressing all issues that are being reported there, so we thought better to include refugees. So and we are bringing them on board. We are training them, we are supporting them, and they are working together with the people from host community, just to build the experience and evidence-based implementation. So I think I talked about this GWEP 1, that the entry point was VSLA. So maybe I can talk a little bit about the theory of change. The theory of change, as you can see, the goal that is leading our interventions, that by 2025, vulnerable women are social and economically secure and exercise their rights. So when you look at this goal, you can see the theory of change will absolutely see how different interventions will come together to work. I mean, to try to synergize in terms of looking how we can get the results we want to achieve. And when this theory of change, it has three main domain of change. We have we looked at vulnerable women themselves. We looked at the social environment, and we looked at duty bearers. And we thought, in our theory of change, if vulnerable women increasingly use socio-economic opportunities and equality services, and if the social environment allows and encourages vulnerable women to participate in decision making and claim and enjoy their rights, then at the same time, if duty bearers ensure the vulnerable women take up an appropriate and operational legal framework that protects their rights, all of those, and if we include those interventions that you can see, we take into consideration in VSLAs, if we make sure there is an increased functional literacy, and if you have community activism for gender equality and the GBV prevention, and if the civil society strengthening through strategic partnership development, then there we can hope that economic empowerment, social empowerment, social change for gender equality, civil society strengthening, we shall manage to understand that the empowerment and social change for gender equality and the women's right is secured. So it means, just to be brief on this presentation, it means that we have different partners working on this in this particular project of GWEP. And when we bring all efforts, if we are challenging gender social norms, if you have people coming to strengthen the civil society, if we have for advocacy, if we have women getting empowered, can have access to finance, can know how to manage their resources, I think this empowerment and social change that we want in terms of promoting gender equality and women's empowerment will be absolutely reached. Next. And as you can see, GWEP 2, the way it has been implemented, here I speak about GWEP 2 and GWEP 3 will come later. The way it has been implemented, it has been going beyond the families. We also targeted the community, as you can see. From that adaptation that I talked about from SASA model, we tried to think of the involvement or the community activism as a model to come as backing the general transformation that we started. Then we adopted that model. We tried to select the community activists from main engaged clubs. Actually, they have been selected from the main engaged clubs members that have been supported. And those community activists were there in the community, and they are still there to mobilize the community around the positive use of power. Of course, we are trying to challenge that power imbalance that I talked about as being the root cause of gender-based violence. But not only that, we thought that if you have community partners that you're working with, if you're engaging those men and boys uh, and girls, those that we are engaging in the community, they are the ones to support their peers, their neighbors, their people from their communities. So they need to have a conducive environment, as I said earlier. So that is why we also engage religious leaders. We engage different leaders, including religious, in order to create a conducive environment. Those leaders started to be engaged, including those religious leaders that I talked about, and local authorities. And the engagement of those local leaders is necessary to support those CAs and to support the effort of challenging, or that process of challenging gender norms. Next. Okay. So here you can see, still, as I was saying, we have those religious leaders supporting in this process of challenging negative gender norms and promoting positive masculinities. And it is important, I repeat this because it's important to engage religious leaders, because when you take into consideration, for example, the verses from Quran or Bible, you'll hear sometimes people say, or people saying, or pastors saying, or religious people saying that Apostle Paul said you women should be submissive. This is an example. And the problem is how this message is taken to the community. So we are trying to work together with those religions, because sometimes the same message that are being given to community sometimes intend to be translated into another form of violence if they are not really well interpreted. So we work together with those religious leaders to make sure the same message you're providing as civil society organization or development partners are the same message that are given into their churches or mosques. And so, yes, I talked about the theory of change. I was saying that it uses the power model, looking at how we are working. As you can see, we have four main dimensions whereby we are engaging people through this model. We are working at individual level. We are working at household level and community level. We are working at local environment and national level. So here, individual level, we are trying to promote women's and girls' economic and social political empowerment. Now I'm talking about the current phase we are working in with GWEP3. We are organizing and engaging men and boys. As I mentioned, we have men engaged clubs. We have Youth for Change clubs. Those are different platforms. We have many platforms that whereby we can engage men and boys. And we are working with the communities to facilitate the dialogue through activism and actions that we are implementing in the community. We are also engaging with local level duty bearers and service providers just to share experiences, to know what is working, what is not working, just to discuss how better we can improve or we can cooperate in terms of creating synergies to make sure the issue we want to address is really well addressed by effort of each and everyone. And we are trying to reach and influence decision makers, of course, through advocacy, because we are collecting some information. We are on ground. We are running on what is happening. There are some issues. People are claiming this and this. So we are there to make sure we are the advocate of the people's lives. Next. Yes, I think this is the summary. This is the summary of what I've been talking about. This phase, I mean, the third phase of gender equality and women empowerment program, we are using all those approaches, and they are trying to. Those approaches are working together, and partners are working together. So we are using the gender transformation. We are using community activism. We are using men engaged clubs. We are engaging leaders and the youth to make sure all issues that are being raised in terms of promoting positive masculinities and to prevent gender-based violence are really addressed according to the to every category that can really have a role to play in this process. Yes. So I was talking about ISARO GWEP 1, GWEP 2, GWEP 3. Now, this video, I'd like to take a few minutes to let you take a look on what is happening within the community. Maybe we'll have time to discuss further on this. If someone can help to play this video.
It is known that development programs aiming at empowering vulnerable women are likely to increase the risk of sexual and gender-based violence as a form of backlash by men and communities. To prevent such risk, the Gender Equality and Women Empowerment Program in Rwanda, known as GWEP, has been consistently engaging men and local leaders in order to create a conducive environment for rural women to be economically empowered, able to take decisions about their income, and live a life which is free from violence. The program is implemented in all districts of the Southern Province and aims at empowering socially, economically, and politically 173,000 vulnerable women and girls. With funding from the Norwegian government, the GWEP program is coordinated by CARE Rwanda and implemented in collaboration with a consortium including African Evangelical Enterprises AEE, Pro-Femme Twese Hamwe, and the Rwanda Men's Resource Center RWAMREC. While AEE and Pro-Femme focus mainly on the women's empowerment component through the village saving and loan associations known as VSLAs, RWAMREC is in charge of engaging the women's husbands in order to promote gender equality and prevent SGBV. RWAMREC does this using the three following approaches. First, the Journey of Transformation, GOT, which is a 17-week-long training program for couples. Women in VSLAs and their husbands are taken through different sessions in which they learn how to challenge rigid gender roles and norms to create a more equal relationship among spouses and a healthier and ultimately more prosperous family. Secondly, the community activism model. Some of the women and men trained through the GOT are selected to become community activists, CSAs, and receive extra gender training. They become a network of local activists able to sensitize their communities about basic concepts in gender and power and who can support other families in conflict resolution. The CS, together with other couples in the community reached out by them, create men engaged clubs at the local level to keep discussing and addressing cases of family conflict and SGBV within their own communities. Thirdly, opinion leaders, including local leaders and religious leaders, are also regularly engaged at the local level to make sure they support the work of CAs and the ME clubs in fighting and prevent SGBV. By working with men and community members, RWAMREC intends to challenge social and gender norms that might hamper the results of women's empowerment initiatives. By engaging men, RWAMREC has the important task to ensure that women's empowerment is supported by their own husbands, families, and communities. Gender equality becomes everyone's concern and business and can be sustained over time.
Thank you very much. I think you managed to listen to the video, and I think now I would just let you understand what we do, how is it looking like within our communities, how community activists may engage, how the leaders are getting involved in this process of promoting gender equality. So I think for the next slide, maybe Flora wants to just to talk of the next slide. So Flora, the floor is yours. Maybe our next I will continue later. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Give me a second. Okay. As I want to make sure that the people translating can hear me. Hello.
I'm not sure. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We hear you.
Okay.
We hear you.
I think it's okay.
Okay, great. So, yeah, as my colleague has already mentioned, one of the things we do is work on advocacy or influencing the policy implementation, and sometimes creating strategies or at least influencing that they happen. So on the side of engaging men, as some of you may know, we have a revised gender policy that was revised in 2021, and one of the priority areas is focusing on engaging men in the process of challenging gender norms, and we have contributed as an organization on that happening. But also currently there is an ongoing there's a national main engaged transformative strategy that is being we have worked on it with other partners or CSOs. Of course, it's the initiative of the Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion in Rwanda, but also as RWAMREC, we have contributed in the process of creating it, commenting and suggesting different changes, focusing on main engage and also the involvement of youth and focusing on youth. In terms of GWEP, the focus has been mainly on working with at the local level and to help understanding the importance of engaging men in the prevention of GBV. We have done that in different campaigns, including the 16 days of activism, which we keep doing every year, as you know. Wait, the next slide. One of the things, of course, as he mentioned, as my colleague mentioned, through all those years since ISARO up to the GWEP 3 that is ongoing, we were able to reach or to impact different people, and we have a network of different groups that are ensuring that on the local level, on the community level, there's still that networks keeping the movement going on, keeping the community being able to understand and challenge the negative gender norms that are the basis of GBV. For example, as you can tell on this slide, we have so far trained couples, the 2,940 couples. As you can tell, they go through different stages of GWEP, ISARO, GWEP 1, GWEP 2, and GWEP 3. And this covers all the southern province, as my colleague mentioned. Aside from the couple, we also have main engaged clubs. This is the clubs that are created mostly after the trainings that happen, the 17 weeks trainings that happens. After they are trained, they go in clubs based on where they are located, and this is where they always meet to discuss and challenge each other and help each other to move and continuing the changes that they have gone through. As also you can tell, we have those groups on each level or phases of the project, if I'd call it that way. As you can tell, ISARO has quite many, because that's why we trained a lot of them, but also and GWEP 2, but also in GWEP 3, we still have those many engaged club members, and they're still currently working. They still meet, they still discuss. We also have CAs, what we call community activism. I think I'm sure my colleague has already mentioned that. So if I can try to explain, when we have the couple trainings, as I told you, there's also the main engaged club after those couple trainings. However, we have those, we select a few of those couples, the members of the couple that have been trained. It doesn't have to be a couple, it's an individual. We select them, we train them as activism. So we give them another additional 8 days trainings. We train them so they can go back in the community. So there are those people that are referred to when you want to help a couple or solve or even teach or train or discuss on different topics. These are the one that goes into, for example, after Imiganda, they can discuss around different topics depending on what is up in the community, even if they also have like a document to guide them on what they should talk about and how they can guide people, because that's one of the things we train them about. As my colleague mentioned, in terms of creative or conducive environment, we have leaders, what we call opinion leaders, and also religious leaders. In non-opinion leaders, for those maybe who are used to the way Rwanda is set up, at least the structure of the leadership, there's a level of the district, and also, of course, we start on the national level, but also when it gets to the level that there's a district, there's also the sector, there's also the cell, there's also the village. We have different people from those levels where we work with them, and also in the security area, we also work with those kind of people to help in creating the conducive environment. Because if you train those couples only, remember they're going back to the community. They're going back to the people who don't even understand what it means to even the GBV, what is it? They only maybe think it's just physical, beating someone. So we need to make sure that the leaders that are the like Kwandebe, or that are the role model of the people in different things, they're aware, they understand, they're not ignorant on the topic of prevention of GBV, the engaging of men and boys in that prevention of GBV, in that journey. As he said, we also included, we brought in the youth, what we called Youth for Change. It's clubs of young people that were trained to help also, because if we don't talk or teach or discuss with the youth about this topic, they're the next mother and father, they're the next family, they're the next parents that we have. So we want to make sure that even if them also, they need to know the GBV and understand, because it doesn't only happen in couples, even if that's kind of a thought people have, that it happens only in a couple, but it's something that can happen at any level. So we want also them to be aware and understand and be able to challenge even in their families. Here I can give, as my colleague has already mentioned, we have done different assessments all along since ISARO up to now. I can give, for example, an example of I think this was GWEP 2, yes, end line, to show you the shift of different attitudes. I'm choosing just a few of them. If you want the findings, we can share with you those. This is the comparison of before the GWEP 2 start and then at the end of it. the end line, what we have seen as a shift on the attitude. As you can tell, there's a men's attitude toward women's economic security. We have men's attitude toward women's participation. We have men's attitude toward the protection of women and women's sexual and reproductive health. As you can tell from the baseline, there's an increase. From the baseline and endline, except on the last one, on the men's attitude toward gender-based violence, which is a decrease because sometimes it's what they believe. Maybe a woman can support this because they are a woman. They need to stay home. If you are beaten, it's okay. Maybe if you ban food, it's okay. So if that thing goes down, then it's a positive shift because we have decreased the level of when men understand that women can be beaten or can be beaten when she does something, but there's no need to involve any kind of violence in correcting or something. Yes, if anyone would want the findings, we can share this. There's quite more on this one because we use GEM skills, so we can share with you the findings. So I will give back the floor to Bosco to talk a little bit about this the stories, maybe share a few things. You can tell that it's the court, but maybe can give a little bit of background on a few families and the things they go through. Yes, Bosco, would you go ahead?
Thanks, Flora. Thank you very much. Yeah, actually, this is one of the couples that follow the Year of Transformation training. This is a man who is working with his wife in the household. Actually, this photo indicates how they are coming now together to work together within the household. And this is Mr. Evariste who was saying that before he got trained, he did everything he wanted to know, he wanted to do without necessarily to ask his wife's consent. So actually, this is one of the couple that was selected. Maybe it's something I should highlight. Among those couples, we mentioned around 2,940, 80% of those couples, they are the one living or experiencing intimate partner violence. And at least one of those couples, at least a wife should be a member of VSLA that we mentioned as an entry point. So bringing men on board, it was like as a strategy just to make sure those women who are having access to money, to finance, going back home, they're getting the support that they really need to move forward or to get the development that they want. So this quote from Evariste indicates how they were living before starting the journey of transformation. He was saying that before he thought all the power was to belong to him, that his wife had no value. But along with the trainings, at the 7th session, when we tried to discuss, he said, I started at the very first time, and I will tell you, because I had a chance to meet him, he was saying that the very first time to enter in the training, I was scared that when they invited me, they wanted to take me to the jail. And the first session, I managed. It was good. The second session, I said, because they do 1 day per week. And the second time he came, saying, let me check again. And later he found it better. He went back with his wife. And later at the 7th session, because all those sessions are supporting them to reflect, at the end of every session, they go back home and they are given some take-home exercises where they can reflect on their attitude, on some practical exercises they can do, on how they manage their income, how they take decisions at home. So along with those sessions, he tried to discover how much he made gender-based violence against his wife. So he mentioned that at the 7th session, the JOT started to feel guilty of his behavior and attitudes. And something that is really very good, interesting, is that he started to, he said he apologized before his wife, and they agreed to continue the journey together. Maybe we didn't mention that they have even taken decision to legalize their marriage. Before, they were living without legalizing their marriage, and later on, after completing their training or all sessions, 17 sessions, they took the decision to legalize their marriage. So this is a peaceful family that is really testifying about their change, and we can really express our joy when we look at them and the development they managed to reach to. Next slide. So as we are implementing this GWEP, of course, RWAMREC itself, CARE itself, government partners or civil society organizations themselves, they cannot reach every corner in the community. So those people who started their journey, when they change, they support in changing their neighbors, their fellow men, to change their negative attitudes. And this is one of the couples that were reached out by the people that we trained. Those community activists we are talking about, they reached out to this couple, and as you see here, they are saying this is Alphonsine and her husband. When we started to have many children, Alphonse started to change his behavior. He became a drunkard, started to beat me up, and the children were beaten up too. So the violence we started to have, actually, this testimony, sorry for the error, actually, this is like a testimony from this family that along with as long as they were having many children, this husband has started to change his behavior and attitude. And later on, as we started to train some couples in their communities, they are going out to do some home visits. They mobilize communities changing their behaviors. So this is one of the couples that were reached out by those community activists that we are talking about. And they sat together, they reflected, they discussed about their own issues. And later on, this is the couple that is giving the testimony. It is among many, many more couples that we're having in our program that took the decision to change their attitude. And here, as you can see here, the wife looks happy, and she's the one, when you visit them, she can tell you how much she's enjoying the program, because she's no longer living the intimate partner violence. She can now testify about the importance and the contribution of the program, and more particularly for those men engaged clubs and community activists. Next. Yes, of course, yes, we are very happy of the achievements that you are seeing, but still we are still having some areas for improvement. Among the areas to put much emphasis, just to, of course, keep supporting that target group that we are working with. And so we want to, as you can see, there is need to ensure that the different implementers target the same groups or relevant group around the target group to maximize the impact. We want to strengthen the youth for change component, just to make sure we are engaging with them for a long time. We are thinking, or we want just to make much more effort in engaging and keep working with the local authorities. We are very happy that they are already on board, but there is still need to keep working with them to make sure all corners are supported, and to make sure we want to maintain the momentum, and this for this community activism to really produce the results that we want to reach. Because as you see, as you mentioned, of course we reach those, though we are saying around almost 3,000 couples, but still it's in an area that is having more people or women being victims of gender-based violence. So there is a lot of people to reach out. So we want to make much more effort to work with the local leaders, even where we are yet to reach, to make sure they can support their communities. I think that's it. And maybe you can add another slide to show the partners that we are working with. And those are different partners that we are working with. We have Equimundo, we have Care, we have all those you are seeing. We are still together. We are working together to make sure we are promoting positive masculinities and to end gender-based violence. Thank you very much. I think I can let this time for participants to react, comment, needs of clarification, some questions. So we shall discuss to see how we can really, support each other to move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bosco. So maybe just to clarify that it is now we are able to take questions or any comments from any participants. So if you'd like to share anything, you can raise your hand and then they can call on you, or you can just put something in the chat. I did see one question from Maya, but I'm not finding it now. Maya, perhaps you want to unmute yourself and ask your question. And then we have about 25 minutes for questions and any comments from participants. Otherwise, you can also use the chat for that, and we can share them from the chat.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bianca. Essentially, my question is your experience in terms of training the folks who are delivering these workshops and training, that process itself. Over the years, I'm sure you've found different strategies to have more impactful trainings. What have been those lessons, and what have you found to be your most effective process for into training new personnel into delivering this type of meaningful and transformative programming? Thank you.
Do you want to answer the question, Bosco, or do you want to go into the next question and then answer them all together?
Maybe can we have, or it's up to you, can we have a round of questions and maybe take time to respond rather than go one by one? So it's my suggestion.
Yeah, no, that's great. Whatever works for you. So you've got that one from Maya. So Traora, an apology if I'm saying your name incorrectly, but I see your hand first, and then after Traora, Ruben.
Oui, bonjour. Merci Alex Logan donc pour ce riche partage. Moi, je suis Orokiatou Traoré, je travaille à la SNV Burkina. Je suis experte genre et inclusion sociale et je suis sur un programme de promotion de l'entrepreneuriat agricole, donc s'occupant de plusieurs filières. Vraiment, cet exposé, je pense que mon programme n'est pas un programme spécifiquement genre, mais c'est un programme où on cible les femmes et les jeunes et l'aspect genre est tout de même important, mais ce n'est pas un programme spécifiquement genre. Donc déjà au niveau de la mise en œuvre, je pense qu'il va y avoir des différences puisque les ressources qui seront affectées ou même la manière dont même le reste de l'équipe et les acteurs reçoivent en ce moment les interventions sur le genre et l'inclusion sociale va différer de la manière dont on le reçoit si c'est un programme genre. Maintenant, moi, je pense que je suis néanmoins dans cette dynamique-là. Et vraiment exactement, même j'allais dire, sauf que peut-être il y a des éléments, par exemple, quand vous parlez de clubs d'hommes, donc qui soutiennent, moi je mets l'accent par exemple sur des leaders que je forme sur des trajets de leadership. Il y a les femmes, il y a les jeunes. Et donc, pour pouvoir soutenir donc cette dynamique-là, parce que je pense que cette approche-là, c'est l'approche de l'avenir, parce que premièrement, d'un point de vue méthodologique, on ne peut pas changer des personnes, on ne peut pas changer des situations si les intéressés même ne sont pas vraiment au cœur de l'intervention. Donc, si on parle de genre, on veut changer des choses que les normes nous imposent, on ne peut pas laisser de côté les hommes, puisque c'est d'eux dont il s'agit aussi. Donc, sur le plan méthodologique, je pense que c'est l'approche vraiment à promouvoir. Et ensuite, il y a un aspect quand même qui me semble vraiment très important, c'est au niveau même de la lecture qu'on fait du contexte. Vous savez, par exemple, au Burkina, de par le passé, je pense que je ne dis pas qu'il n'y avait pas de violence basée sur le genre, ou toutes ces questions étaient là, bien sûr, mais lorsqu'on regarde la répartition des rôles, lorsqu'on regarde aussi le contrôle, l'accès et le contrôle stratégique des ressources, on a les hommes qui géraient, par exemple, le grenier, je vais dire tout ce qu'il y a comme stock de céréales et autres. Et les femmes, en ce moment, étaient sur des petites activités d'élevage, ainsi de suite. Maintenant, aujourd'hui, avec tout ce qui se passe et toutes les mutations, le changement climatique également, les greniers sont vides. Donc, du coup, les hommes n'ont pas ils n'ont pas grand-chose à contrôler sur ce plan, et c'est clair, ils vont se ruer sur des activités, par exemple, qui étaient laissées aux femmes. Donc, il y a une compétition pour les ressources, il y a une compétition pour l'accès et le contrôle aux ressources. Et ça, c'est des éléments souvent dont on ne tient pas compte quand on fait l'analyse genre. Donc, c'est clair, il y a des conflits nouveaux, qui seront là entre les hommes et les femmes, entre les différents utilisateurs. Donc, ça, c'est des éléments vraiment très importants à prendre en compte. Ensuite, il y a l'environnement, il y a la volonté politique. Je pense que cette intervention vraiment très réussie l'a aussi été parce que au niveau politique, au niveau des cadres, les cadres sont là pour pouvoir soutenir tout cela. Et quand il n'y a pas ça, on aura beau travailler, c'est difficile en tout cas d'arriver à un succès certain. Ensuite, il y a le leadership local. C'est très important. Il faut avoir ces leaders-là pour pouvoir soutenir cette dynamique et aussi assurer la durabilité donc des interventions. Et je pense que tout ça était là. Moi, je vais partager, je m'excuse, hein, c'est long, mais je vais aller rapidement. Pour le cas que je suis en train de faire des recherches sur un cas. Au début, c'est un groupe de femmes qui voulaient faire pratiquer de l'élevage. Donc, on est arrivé, on nous a dit, lors de nos rencontres au début du projet, que les femmes dans cette communauté-là ne pouvaient pas pratiquer l'élevage, c'est interdit. Et moi, j'ai cherché à comprendre, il se trouve que si elles pratiquent l'élevage, tout de suite, les aspects d'autonomisation elles deviennent rapidement autonomes, et les hommes ne contrôlant pas, comme je l'ai dit, certaines ressources, et les femmes deviennent directement plus autonomes que eux, et donc directement dans la communauté, on a interdit aux femmes de pratiquer cet élevage parce que ça va entraîner des problèmes au niveau de la famille. Donc, on a mis en place un dialogue intergenre et intergénérationnel, et au bout du compte, en 2 ans, 3 ans, on a même abouti à un projet où les hommes sont impliqués et soutiennent vraiment les femmes donc dans cette dynamique-là d'autonomisation, et ça contribue aussi à la résilience des ménages. Si les recherches sont avancées, et on pourra vraiment partager pas mal de choses. Mais déjà, je pense qu'il y a beaucoup de points communs, et je félicite vraiment les différents acteurs pour ce projet-là. Et je souhaite rester en contact avec eux pour bénéficier davantage de leurs expériences. Je m'excuse, je suis long. Merci beaucoup, j'en ai fini.
Thank you, Tora. So Ruben and then Julia Monroe.
Yes, thank you, Bianca. Yeah, it's great work. Congratulations. My question is, how do you deal with power dynamics? Because you work with couples, and the focus of your work was also about empowering women and economic empowerment. So I would guess that some of the men would be suspicious about a project that is empowering women, and they would feel maybe also put aside or taken down because of a project that is focused on women's empowerment. So do you have any situations where there were conflicts between the couples, and how do you deal with that, with those cases of conflict?
Thanks, Ruben. Julia?
Hi there. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. My name is Julia Monroe. I work with an organization called United Cities and Local Governments, and I'm a policy officer there. And I really enjoyed hearing about the work that you're doing with men and masculinities, and something that I'm very interested in exploring more with cities. So I was just wondering if we could hear a little bit more about the role that local and regional governments have been playing in these initiatives. Is it more at like a level of officials or political level? Yeah, and like, what have your experiences been with working with local governments in maybe like, do they take a leadership from their own level of policy, or is it more led by the organization? Thanks.
Julia, please, could you please support something? I mean, I don't know if it's a network. Could you please summarize your questions for me to hear it well? Sorry.
Sure, not a problem. So I wanted to hear a little bit more about what level of government. So is it more local officials, or more like mayors and political level? And do the policies of working with men tend to be also then driven by the local governments, or is it more common that they're partners in these organizations' initiatives? I hope that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It makes sense.
So Bosco, do you want to answer those questions? And then there's a couple in the chat, which you maybe want to read, and you can speak to those as well.
Okay, maybe yes, my colleague Flor can try to answer the first question, and I'll come next. Thank you. Flor, over.
Hello everyone again. So if I understood well the first question, someone was wondering about how we train trainers, or experience with training trainers, those who train others. Am I right about that, Bianca? Because I think okay. So on the side, on this project that we are talking about, we do not train trainers. We train activists that are from the couples that have been going through 17 weeks of trainings. So we train them so they can go in the community and help the community when it comes to understanding of the engaging of men and boys in prevention of gender-based violence. So we do not train trainers under this program. We only do the training of activists that are from the couples that were trained. The other thing maybe I would like to clarify is that when we talk about men engaged clubs, it's not the clubs for only men. It's the club that is talking, is like their focus is engaging men in prevention of GBV. So it's not about who is in the it's not about men being part of that groups alone. It's about the women and men in those groups, like talking about or using the engaging men in the prevention of GBV. So that was, I think, I hope I was able to answer the first question. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Flor.
Maybe both the second.
Okay, maybe to add on that, we actually as RWAMREC, we have a staff that is really in charge of providing those kind of trainings. So maybe just maybe someone may have had confusion in terms of having some couples joining men engage clubs, whatever. So what we do is that when we provide those kind of trainings to men engage club, not to those couples, they go out. We have some materials that we are using, like posters. They create songs. They do play some sketches. So they use those, methodologies that are there at their level to reach out to their peers in their communities using the existing community forums. We have a forum we call Muganda. It's a communal work that is on a monthly basis that is organized in our country. We have what we call in like community dialogue. Those are kind of platform that we have in the community. So when those couples have been trained and they are transformed, they try to go out and speak about themselves. They share testimonies, they share stories, and they talk about their changes. So that is what they do. And later on, when people are really feeling concerned by what is being talked about by the Men Engage Club members, they also make requests to join for them to be in a good fight together. So that is how we are engaging them, but it's up to the RWAMREC staff to provide those kind of trainings. But of course, we work with different partners in that time. I think for Madam Traore from SNV, she talked about social inclusion, and thank you very much for the appreciations for our work. And I like what you are also doing in terms of building women, promoting women empowerment. And those different issues that you talked about, climate change, those competitions that you talked about, those are the issues that we also, as you've seen, we are using like a social ecological model that is really tackling all those issues you are talking about. And I'm happy that when we are talking about the animal husbandry, you talked about how women are not being allowed to participate in the husbandry, to play that role. But in our context, when you look at our context, for example, we are trying to address the issues like those. Because you see, for example, based on the genocide against Tutsi that we had in Rwanda, we have a number of women who are widows. And sometimes we have those issues that when you don't empower them enough to have capacity to take lead, to deal with those issues that are really hindering their development, or which are bringing in some other issues. For example, if you don't empower enough those women to manage their resources, if they ask those husbands or those men to come and support, sometimes you will see or have a number of consequences related to that partnership that is unnecessary and unnecessary. Here I mean that we need to have, in those competitions that we are talking about, in terms of resources, we are also just reflecting on that to see how, even from those VSLAs that you are talking about, we are trying to make sure women can move beyond those VSLAs and go and try to establish some partnership with the institution of microfinance, for example, to get out, to reach that higher level whereby they can feel really empowered enough. So for us, I don't see this. Of course, there are some men who are still reluctant to understand that process. But later on, when this transformation reaches those men, I can see some of them coming and support that process that women are taking. So I think we are working the same program. Working, we are in the same direction. So it requires that political will and women to feel really ready to be on board. For the comment of Ruben, he asked how do we deal with the power dynamics, asking whether men might not be suspicious. So okay, yeah, this is actually looking at our context in Rwanda. In Rwanda, people are open, and in our process, I mean, this process of promoting gender equality, we also sensitize both men and women to speak out violence. And in most cases, when there is a violence within a household, sometimes we will see a woman reporting that case at the local level. And the local leaders will, because of that partnership, will try to refer that case to the community activists or to the men engaged tribe members who are known to be changing their attitudes, and they support those couples. So to support them, we bring them together where possible, because they know them, they trust them, and when they share those testimonies, they can show them that really the change that happened in their household can happen there and for the other couple. So what I can say here is that there is no suspicion. Of course, in some cases, I cannot say that in general 100%, but in general, what we've seen is that really the couples, the families are really having the trust within those community activists that we trained, and they can really open themselves to talk about what is happening in their household. And the support they get can influence other neighbors to do the same. I think that's it. That is what I can say about the. So to deal with the power dynamics again, what we do, we put much effort in sensitizing the community about the positive use of power. When the community understands that, and we are there to support those people who really changed. If the neighbor sees that someone has changed, for example, he was a drunkard, he was someone who was every time fighting, and now he changed his behavior and attitudes, and now we come to visit him at home. As I said, they do home visits. So they start to understand that as he managed to change at this level, maybe he can provide something as support. So if there is a case that may be a challenge, some cases are being referred to different partners that we're working with, or to our staff, just to provide support in the same dynamic. For the question of Julia, she asked about the level of government engagement. How do we work with the government? So as we are working with the government at all levels. For example, from grassroots level, we have the leaders we call village leaders. As you can see, the structures of the local government, we have central level, we have provincial level, we have district level, down to village level. So we engage all those leaders from village level. Of course, from village to the district, we are working together in terms of owning our interventions, providing sensitizations, engaging. Of course, you can't select the people you want to work with if the government, the local leaders are not involved. They are there to support in selecting the people, the right people to be working with or to be supported. They are there to support us to know the priorities they are there till grassroots level to indicate some issues, the real issues that they want us to deal with, and to formulate some like some issues, or to do some policy brief, or advocacy paper that we can bring at the higher level. For example, we are working, we have a partnership with we have what we call gender machinery, for example. We have Gender and Family Promotion Ministry. We're working with the National Women Council at the national level. We have Gender Monitoring Office. We have other entities that are the Parliament, for example, the Chamber for Women in the Parliament. All those are it's a group of leaders at the national level that help us to formulate, to advocate for issues that we identified with the corridors from grassroots level. So we are working at different levels, at all levels, And of course, we have different partners that we are working with. So those policy formulation are done by us, or different umbrellas that we are belonging in. So, looking at the chart, so if may not satisfy the question, can you repeat or add more clarification? No problem. So I can see.
I think.
Dominique.
Sorry.
Yes.
I think some of the question they asked, I think Ila. For those who don't know, Ira Buskaria is our program manager, so she's trying to answer some of the questions. But you can go ahead and the question about where did it go? Yeah, what is one of the most important lessons learned from the training of the gender community activism from the CA? This person is asking about the important lesson we learned from the CA.
Okay, yeah, I think it's in a chat box. Yes, the most important lesson learned from those training. First of all, what we saw is that we have our community. It's a treasure to keep well. In other words, sometimes we think we as implementers or professionals or experts in any field, we are the one to respond or to address issues at community. But what we saw is that looking at how the community activists are addressing issues of power imbalance and how they are dealing with the issue of gender-based violence, I came to realize that in the community we have resources that we need to use effectively. Because if you are engaging people, you are involving people in addressing issues, and not coming as an expert from somewhere, you need to use the local people to address the local issues that are there. That is one. The second lesson learned that I had from the training is what I could call it the environment. Having a safe or conducive environment, in any case, in any context, if the environment is safe, the success will be assured. Here, I take a decision from our context in Rwanda, because when we started to engage local leaders, some of them are educated people, but some of them could not have enough skills in terms of those issues of power imbalances, gender equality, or maybe understanding the importance of engaging men to address gender issues. So what I learned from those training is that when you are trying to make or to set up an enabling environment, you can reach to the success that you are expecting to have. I think that's it. Another question, y a-t-il plus ou moins de violence en fonction de la religion des couples et la façon dont la femme est considérée? les principes de la religion. Yes. What I can say from this is that yeah, it's not easy to say there is violence in the region because the way the religion is, is organized. I would say that is even why we thought to engage religious leaders, because sometimes in a religion, when you have Holy Scripture messages, you have no right to comment. I would say that there is no violence in terms of religion, but messages from religion may enforce or hinder the transformation that we want to reach to. For example, as I said earlier on, I said that, for example, you will meet the pastor and say, Apostle Paul wrote to the Colossians and say, you women should be submissive. And if you think on this, the Holy Scripture itself does not have anything to do with violence, in terms of thinking of those women and men, members of the church. They will not take time to reflect on this. What they will say is just to say, you women should be submissive. And what the women have to say is just to say, amen. So what does it mean? It means sometimes you don't have time to reflect on those Holy Scripture messages. But when we try to discuss with those religious leaders, we think it's good just to set up that platform, that space for them to see where kind of different forces may really create some, and some people are blind about this. I think it's important to reflect together. So maybe my colleague might comment on that, but in terms of the violence, it's not, I would say that it's based on how people perceive or believe in their belongingness in the different churches or religion. But we need to keep sensitizing them to understand where the issue is and what can be like a consequence from that. I think that's it.
Thanks, Bosco. We're coming to the end. Are there any other questions in the chat that you want to respond to?
I think in the chat I can't see any other question.
Okay. And Ilara has just shared in the chat the website that you can look at, and also the video that was shared, so people can also go and look at that if they want more information. Flora, anything to add?
Considering that our time has already, it's not on our side, I can just mention two things in terms of the question that Ruben asked. One of the main important things we focus on when it comes to avoiding we make sure that in the main engage approach, we show men what are the benefits they are gaining from sharing their powers. So we have a way that module we provide it, and then there's exercise. Like there's a way we show them all along those weeks. There's a benefits from adopting the main engage approach. The second thing from Julia's question, when it comes to working with the leadership of the government, we make sure that because they have their own priorities, we make sure what we do is also feeding into what they have as priorities. For example, there's what we have, every district has every year, what we call performance contract on the district level. So we make sure that we are feeding into their priorities, and we are feeding into solving the issues that they are working on in every single every year. So including the sector, for example, if you look at what they have as priority, we always have this thing about sexual-based violence, like the reduction and prevention of sexual-based violence, and what we do contributes to those priorities they have. So that's what I can say. And if someone wants to have more information, they can maybe go to our website. We are going to put it in the chat, then they can contact us, and even our email. Thank you.
Great. So thank you, Flora and Bosco. for your presentation.
Okay, I think there is a question from Jan Akrotirt. Sorry if I missed some question. I can't. I was seeing question coming in, so if you can help. J'ai compris qu'il peut y avoir une sorte de concurrence entre l'homme et la femme dans ce cas. Comment procédez-vous pour gérer ce problème? Yeah, I think this is one of the questions that I would just like to react on.
And Bosco, if I can just say we are running out of time, so if you could just keep the answer fairly short, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes, sorry.
No, it's fine. Go ahead. But just, yeah,
Okay.
just a reminder.
Okay, I don't know in which way she mentioned about this concurrence. Actually, what we do, just what we want, it's just to go together to promoting gender equality. We are targeting not only men, we are also we are targeting both men and women to work as partners, and to make sure everyone can really understand the benefits from this engagement, from this togetherness. So what we do is just to set up like a platform to understand if a woman is developed, how will a man benefit from that, and vice versa. So we want to bring them all on board and discuss and see what they can benefit from that discussion. It's like what we do, it's just to set up, to put a platform or to avail space for them to share, to see things together, and to plan together. So that is why what we do, to make sure no one is left behind. I think that is one of the questions that I wanted to react on. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So again, thank you, Bosco and Flora, for the presentation, and to all of you for being here with us today. We will share this recording, and also some of the resources will be available online as well. And of course, if there are any other questions, as Flora says, you can reach out to them and they'd be happy to answer your questions. So thank you for joining us. We have another one of these sessions coming up next month. And then just also to let you know, we have the final decolonization session. So we've been running a series of 6 sessions. And next Tuesday, September the 12th, is the final session of the 6. So please do look out for the information on that and join us for that if you can. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Thank you to the interpreters, and thank you to everyone for being here. And we will see you again soon, hopefully. Take care, everyone. Bye.